What's up and welcome back. I'm John Stark from MacTheMovieGuy.com, your favorite blind film critic. And this is Godzilla X Kong, The New Empire. X because they ran out of things to put in between these two. Godzilla multiplied by Kong? I don't know. Anyway, it looked cool on a poster, so somebody was like, let's do it. Doesn't make any sense, but we'll do it. This film is currently available on Max. It has audio description done by Deluxe, narrated by Jedediah Barton, and it's going to be one of the best audio description tracks of the year due to basically the high level of difficulty we would have, obviously, in following this film without it, because this film is about the Titans. Yes, there are humans running around, and those humans this time are played by Rebecca Hall and Brian Tyree Henry, both who have previously been in this franchise, and now Dan Stevens is joining them for the ride as I don't really know, giant thing vet. I don't know. I don't know how he specializes in this. They just kind of say he does, but what school did he go to? Anyway, um, he makes for some cool things that he gets to do, but that's about it. So, this film is directed by Adam Wingard, who has previously directed entries in this franchise. Obviously, not the first Godzilla or the first Kong, but he did start with the sequels. Those were directed, of course, by, you know, Gareth Edwards and I got it, Jordan Vaught Roberts were those two that directed those. Anyway, did we need another one of these? Sure. It's fun. In many ways, I actually like this movie more because it actually, even though Godzilla has top billing, it really does focus way more on Kong than it does on Godzilla. Actually, his whole story is really like the driving force behind the film, whereas Godzilla, every time we check in on Godzilla, it's almost like they don't really know what to do with him. He's just sort of like hanging out until they need him for the movie. So he's just kind of walking around, and they have a bunch of humans just going like, "Where is he going? I don't know. He seems really upset. He's really pissed. Where is he going? I don't know." You know, it's like he's just like wandering the globe. Um, he does take out like a kaiju thing, a titan, but mostly he's just waiting for Kong to need him in the plot of the film. Because the three humans I listed that you know, they're down there with Kong. So the driving force of the film is in Hollow Earth. That's such a dumb name. Obviously, like every other name has been taken in the course of like literary media, so Hollow Earth is what we're going with. Um, so what's up with Kong? Well, you know, you hear some like voiceover commentary about how Kong is alone. He's the last of his kind, and he's lonely, and there's no one else like him, um, and there's a pretty cool like opening credit sequence where he has to beat down these things that are like attacking him and kill them all, and he attacks several other like large creatures throughout the course of the film that are down there. It just seems like a really dangerous place to be for humans. It seems like everything wants to eat you. But yet, miraculously, I'm sure our three named leads and the child from the previous films, who I don't know, she's here. Um, I'm sure they'll be fine. But also, part of this film is Rebecca Hall she's really concerned because like May also she seems like despondent for some reason. And so she goes to Brian Tyree Henry and she's like, if you can figure out what's wrong with my daughter, you can have anything you want. Of course, he wants to go to Hollow Earth. So this franchise has never really had strong uh, human characters, and it's not going to. So don't fear. It's not going to break that mold. um, but what it does have is a lot of awesome action Titan fighting. That's the promise that you have when you walk into a Godzilla and Kong movie, is that there will be action, there will be fighting, there will be large things bashing each other, and all of that happens to in several major set pieces. I'm sure the VFX team just they worked overtime. They do not get enough praise, I'm sure, for this, because this film is largely just VFX and three people standing in front of what I'm sure is a green screen for the whole film. Um, so yeah, I don't really want to spoil the rest of the film, but it does kind of involve Kong finding. Kong sort of finds the main villain this time, if there is a main villain in this. Kong is sort of the one who discovers it. Before, it's sort of been like Godzilla uncovers the main thing, but no, Kong does, and the only way he can defeat this thing is by having backup. So he finds a way to basically summon Godzilla, who brings Mothra along, because don't forget Mothra's in the franchise. Just because Mothra doesn't get to be in the title doesn't mean Mothra is not hanging around. like the tails to the Sonic, just like, where are you going? Oh, can I come? Sure, let's go. Yeah, so then all three of the Titans get to fight the thing that Kong found that he needs to eradicate in order to live peacefully in Hollow Earth and make it his kingdom. This whole movie is all about, they don't believe that Kong and Godzilla can exist in the same level. So like Godzilla gets to be on top, and they're like grateful for it. They're like, we're grateful to have Godzilla fight these fights. And like, basically, this sounds like a nightmarish universe. I wouldn't want to live in a coastal city because something's usually like coming on the coast, and then Godzilla has to like walk across, like, because he's huge. So he's just like stepping. It's like, well, that was my house, but thank you. Please destroy the giant crab. Like, oh, you just stepped on my grandmother. But thank you, Godzilla, for saving us. Yeah, it's like he's not, it's a bull in a china shop, and just because there's, I don't know, something bigger in the china shop the bull needs to attack, I guess they're like, thank you, bull, for being in the china shop. All the china's broken, but cool. So that's how they feel, and then they're trying to separate the two, and they get concerned when it looks like Kong is going to go up to the thing, and really it turns out that they find a way, and it seems like these two have some sort of simpatico relationship. I'm sure we're getting a sequel. This thing made money, so the question now is, what letter will go in between them? So, yeah, Godzilla plus Kong. I know it's not a letter, but they're running out of things to put in between. So, audio description wise, like I said, there are a lot of things here. First of all, there are a lot of things that are sort of imagined, and the creatures that are sort of hybrids of other creatures that exist in Hollow Earth that are not really, there are these wart dogs things. They're not warthogs, but they're wart dogs. So they're like combination warthog / dog or wolf. And those things are prominent for one of the scenes, and they're chasing. There's this large serpent creature that Kong has to fight. There's something that we track where they went with the name of a juvenile because it doesn't have a name. So there's a juvenile that follows Kong throughout most of the film, and the juvenile was an interesting way of describing it. I kind of wanted size relativity on him at a certain point because I needed, when juvenile, again, dodging spoilers, is around Kong, I still wasn't like 100% sure size relativity to Kong. And then when juvenile was around, when the humans are around, also wasn't really sure size relativity there. So the juvenile, I was never really sure how big juvenile was. Makes me sound like Juvenile the rapper is in here. I kind of like that. We're just going to keep going with that. So juvenile follows Kong around. But yeah, I did need a little bit more size relativity form of juvenile. Other than that, everything else has already been kind of established in a previous film, and this is not something I would recommend to anyone, nor would I feel sympathetic if somebody was like, well, I decided my first Godzilla and Kong movie should be Godzilla X Kong. I'd be like, that's on you, man. You know, this film clearly references other movies. This film is clearly like a sequel. It's unabashedly telling you, if you didn't watch the previous films, you're on your own, bro. This movie, we assume nobody just jumps into this film all of a sudden. Like, nobody was sitting there watching the Godzilla and Kong movies come out and then was like, all of a sudden, like, this new one, though. Those other ones look like crap, but this new one looks like fire. I'm gonna go watch it. So yeah, it has a lot of references to what has happened in previous films, characters that carry over from previous films, and they come in with little to no explanation. And also the whole thing about the backstory between Godzilla and Kong is not explained unless you've seen a previous film. So there's a lot of things that would be really confusing other than the audio description. You know what I'm saying? So if you're coming into this cold and think you know better than everybody else to not watch the previous films, you're not going to have a good experience. It doesn't matter how good the audio description is. It doesn't matter if you have eyesight. It doesn't matter anything. This is just not going to be a great experience for you because this film directly comes in as a sequel without it needing to explain itself or feeling the need like it needs to, which is actually great for us because I hate unnecessary exposition to begin with. So one of the things this film benefits from is that it doesn't feel the need to just be like, where have we been before and where are we now? Just in case you need catching up. Whence last we left our team, you know, it doesn't do any of that. So it's a strong audio description track because it has to be. The title characters don't speak. Kong does sign language, which is we can't even hear that, so we need somebody to translate that. And the little girl also does sign language, so we need somebody to do that. And by the way, those voices are done. They had two extra narrators to do those, who typically narrate, whose names are totally escaping me right now in this moment. But Deluxe did bring in extra voices to do the sign language because Rebecca Hall also has to communicate with her daughter. So when she does sign language, there's something for her, and then there's something for the little girl too. So Darren Rivers is one of them. And nope, I'm not gonna be able to pull the other name. So that was nice to have. So that way Jedediah wasn't doing the whole narration by himself. That kind of drives me insane when it's just like one narrator. It's like you're having them do the narration and all of these voices at the same time. It's a little distracting. What I did think was fun was the opening credits and the latitude that Barton was given to be able to describe sort of the opening action sequences while also mixing in the title credits. So like you get the cast and the director and everything, but he's still also trying to describe what's happening. And I found it to be interesting, and we don't get enough of that, but it proved that it can be done. So I think that's just going to be a taste thing as to whether or not anybody liked it. So if you watch this film, pay attention, I would say, mostly to the front of the film and see that opening, sort of the opening part of the film, and see what you think about that. Because we could have more of that or we could have less of that. For me, I liked it because for some films, I'm not always sure, like, all the time who's in it, and I don't constantly want to IMDb everything all the time to remind myself. So to have those credits and who's in the movie and who directed it and stuff like that at the beginning intertwined into this fight was certainly interesting. I don't even know if I love it. So I'm still kind of like marinating on it. I'm like, this is cool. It's interesting. I like what they tried here. We certainly don't get enough of that. And I think it's awesome that they were granted that latitude. We don't know whether or not something works until we've tried it, until there's been experimentation. So, if for no other reason, for my blind community out there listening, still, I would recommend, even if you didn't really have an interest, if you happen to have Max, just watch like the first, I don't know, like 5 minutes of this and see if you like what he's doing, and then comment on that. You know what I'm saying? Like, bring in that thought, and you don't have to watch the whole movie. It's just like the opening. It's how he navigates a fight while also having to do the opening credits. So anyway, um, that's it. It's it's exactly what I thought it was going to be. This franchise lacks greatness, but it's entertaining. It's varying levels of entertaining. Ultimately, I love the fact that this film balances in Kong's favor, because I actually enjoy Kong more than I do Godzilla, especially in this franchise. Kong Skull Island is my favorite film of this universe, of all the Godzilla films and the versus films, the combined films. Kong Skull Island is actually my favorite of the films. So when we took a film that actually leaned into his character more and gave him more screen time than Godzilla, I just found it to be more engaging. I feel like you can engage more with Kong than you can with Godzilla. So Godzilla doesn't really respond. He doesn't like sit down and do sign language with a little girl. Like, it's, some of it is kind of silly, but at the same time, it's those little like human touches that keep this from just being like big things punching other things that are big, which is what it is when Godzilla's around. Is he's just attacking things, and I'm sure it looks great with VFX. It sounds cool with audio description, but it only goes just so far, you know. I think even Japan finally realized that, which is why Godzilla -1 got such praise, is because he's not really in that much of his own movie. It's mostly about World War II Japanese soldiers, and very much about the humans in that movie. So, yeah. I'm going to give Godzilla X Kong, The New Empire, a B. I think it's fine. I don't think this didn't diminish the franchise. Certainly, it's just right, kind of on par with where most of the sequels kind of have been. My least favorite is the first one. First Godzilla is my least favorite. So, anyway, that's it. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing, and I will see you guys on the other side.